obscure world of parking. We use it every day, but have we really capitalized on the intricacies of our industry? In this podcast, the Parking Network will go behind the scenes and talk to industry professionals about all things parking, from the horizon of evolving technology and even stories of the old days. We hope to encourage and inspire operators and property managers alike to look at parking through a new lens.
Hello, all, and welcome to the Our Parking Industry podcast. I am Leigh Thomas, and I am here today with Amanda Duffy, who is with TagMaster, and I am so glad that you've joined us for our, no doubt, very lively conversation. TagMaster and the Parking Network have been connected for a long time, and Amanda and I actually ran into each other at the NPA convention in Vegas last fall. So I'm pretty excited about this conversation and eager to hear all that Amanda is going to share with us. Something that everyone has in common in the parking industry is we all got here through very unusual paths. So would you please take a minute to introduce yourself and tell us how you got into the parking industry?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking this question too, because it's always one of my favorite questions to ask people when I meet them in the parking industry is, how did you get here? And so first off, my name is Amanda Duffy. I am the National Sales Manager with TagMaster North America. TagMaster North America is based in Tacoma, Washington, and we are a leading provider and industry veteran in parking, providing license plate recognition cameras, long-range RFID, both UHF and microwave, and a suite of software solutions for access control and ground transportation management systems for airports and commercial vehicle tracking. And I'm originally from Washington State, so I had moved back here about 9 years ago when I started at TagMaster, but in my previous life, I was actually a stewardess on private yachts. So if you've seen Below Deck, yes, it is like that. So, very natural transition from yachting to parking, but there's actually a lot of crossover between the two industries. So it's been really fun and really interesting, so I'd say that's kind of how I initially got into parking. And started at TagMaster.
I have never had a conversation with someone who has been on a yacht. So we're going to have to get into that for just a minute. Tell me what everyone needs to know about life on a yacht. What is unusual?
I would say that the unusual part is that the crazy, wild things that you think about or that you would imagine extremely wealthy people are doing is probably accurate. There are situations where we had to take a boat to an island in the Bahamas to pick up an entire ostrich to bring onto our boat. And before yachting, I actually lived in Costa Rica and worked as a translator at a marina at a provision shop. So that's kind of how I got into yachting. So it's this whole storyline of how, it all ties together. But it's definitely, if you are crew on a yacht, it is not as glamorous as living on the yacht or owning a yacht. Obviously, you're going on vacation on it, but it did give me some incredible experiences for traveling the world and some good stories and a lot of personal growth, I would say, in living in bunk beds with people for 5 years.
I bet you met some really cool people who made you better. And then you also met some people that you were like, I hope I never see you again.
That's very, very true.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of people were like, all the celebrities that you got to meet. A lot of them are not as nice in person as they may see outside of that. But then there are people that were just, very amazing, very kind people there too. So a little bit of everything from all different walks of life.
And you mentioned that you were a translator. So what languages do you speak?
I speak Spanish and English.
Oh. Well, I wonder if that's very useful in Tacoma, Washington.
Sometimes it's actually been something that's carried over into the parking industry, as I also manage all of our sales out of Mexico, Central and South America as well.
Well done, you. So you were mentioning about the TagMaster product. And so tell us a little bit more about it. Specifically, what makes TagMaster different from all the other LPR products?
I would say the biggest differentiator up front is going to be our approach. And our approach is something that's very holistic. We're not just looking to sell products, through different distribution channels, things like that. We want to have, involvement and consultative perspective when we look at projects And our goal is to provide, craft and tailored solutions for each individual project's unique needs. And so we have a different type of investment that our entire team puts on all of the customers that we work with. On top of that, also just the innovation and the ability for us to have ownership. TagMaster is the manufacturer and designer owner of all of our products and all of the components. And so things like the OCR engine or the optical character recognition, which is basically the alphanumeric library of characters, text, contrast, colors, all those fun things that the LPR camera is looking at, is something that we have ownership over. And we have a team of PhD holders whose only job is to manage and update and control that. So it gives us the ability to not only do things like add difficult to read plates, but be able to work with customers, integrators, operators, and near real time to provide remote updates, to add in new information. So because I like to call it like human assisted AI learning. So I think that's a big differentiator for us in the market, not just because of the quality of the product, but because we have so much of a capability to really address each unique need of each individual project. And we take a very personal, ownership-based approach to all of our sales.
Well, it sounds like you guys are really able to meet the needs of your customers. If your customer can call you and say, hey, this isn't working. Could you help us tweak it? Could we make this better? Could we make this fit my location? It sounds like you guys are more willing to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
Than maybe some of your competitors.
I would say so.
Okay.
An example being, there was actually a site that deployed one of our competing LPR system. And then the owner of this resort facility had gotten a brand new license plate from the state they lived in. And when they tried to enter and go into the LPR camera, it didn't read. And they were told, well, you just have to use a prox card because it's not in the OCR library for that specific plate, which is definitely not what they wanted to hear after just investing in the full new system. So they came to us and said, hey, can you guys read this license plate? So we, overnighted a camera. And the first pass, we couldn't read the license plate either. But within 24 hours, our team was able to get that updated, the OCR trained, and then be able to just do a simple remote update to the camera to include that new license plate. And most states issue at least 5 new license plates every year. So if you look at, a static engine that you're putting in there, the intelligence that's not evolving and changing and growing, in 3 to 5 years, you could easily have over 20 license plates in that database that are no longer able to be read, opposed to where our system, you're able to kind of keep up with that and stay with times.
Customer service for the win. Wow. So you mentioned your transition from yachting to the parking industry. Did you have a mentor in that time, or have you found a mentor now? That this idea of mentorship has come up several times for us here at TPN. So I'm interested. Who is your mentor?
Absolutely. So my mentor unequivocally in the industry is Ali Kaksar. He's the president of TagMaster North America. And 9 years ago, when I had reached out to TagMaster for a job and had a conversation with him, I just felt like we immediately clicked. And I really respected how he looked at the industry, and something that is a little bit esoteric, like parking, where, the standard population doesn't really know a lot about it. And being able to really give me the idea to look at it from a big picture and kind of zoom out on that perspective and see why it matters, what impact it makes on people, and where the industry is headed in the next, 1 to 5, 10 years from now. And then really kind of give that opportunity and leading by example and showing those qualities of passion for the work they're doing, excited for innovation, excited for new things. And then also just the inherent respect for all of the amazing people in the parking industry, no matter who they are, who they work with, and, making sure that we approach everything from a relationship basis, because as we know, the parking industry is very big, but it's also a very close-knit community. So in terms of, what you do and how you do it and the integrity that you bring to the table definitely follows you. And I think that's one of the reasons that TagMaster has such a stellar reputation in the industry today.
So you've already mentioned an example of excellent customer service that you guys provide. But it sounds like you might have the makings of a really positive company culture. Do you have a mantra or anything you could tell us about that makes it TagMaster a great place to work?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So I would say the mantra that we have is passion, accountability, and respect. It basically just translates to when you come to work, when you're here, everyone's excited to be here. We're all very open and happy to support each other and collaborate, having that inherent respect for everybody, all the different departments and operations. We operate with a lot of transparency and also something that makes the relationships that we build, because we're here at work for, 40 plus hours a week, very pleasant for everybody, and something that gets us excited for the next day, every single day. And then, of course, accountability and ownership, not only of each and every task that you have, but also in how we're representing our company out there in the wild, in the market, because that's something that's been so crucial and that's really made TagMaster a leader and so successful for the 20 years that we've been in the industry.
So Amanda, just for clarity, in case any of our listeners are not familiar with TagMaster, would you spell out what you guys offer the industry?
Of course, TagMaster is a leading provider of intelligent vehicle identification solutions. Our product line includes license plate recognition cameras, long-range RFID, both UHF and microwave. And then we also have our suite of software solutions for access control and ground transportation management at airports.
So with your fantastic products, no doubt you've had challenges that have presented themselves. Can you give us an example of a challenge that TagMaster has faced and overcome?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share how, some of the challenges that we've had and how we've been able to overcome them and work with our customers, to come up with a solution that's a win-win-win for everybody involved. We worked with an airport that had previously deployed our ground transportation management software and the long-range RFID credentials, and they were used for tracking all of the commercial vehicles like taxis and hotel shuttles that were coming on site to the airport. And then they brought up to us, they're like, hey, one of the challenges we're having is that we have taxi drivers that are trying to get around the RFID technology by either hiding their tags, wrapping them in tinfoil, people trying to avoid paying their trip fees to the airport.
Oh my goodness.
There's even one instance where they had a taxi driver, because I guess they get a certain amount of passes for dropping off family members and not being charged, had done 15 trips in one day and had not reported any of them. And when asked, they said they were just dropping off family members. But this piece of information, or the ability to even address that, was something that we were able to solve by deploying the license plate recognition cameras in addition to the RFID. So we'd spoken with them, and just based on the revenue component that was involved here, having an additional identifier for the vehicles coming in, because it's very difficult to tamper with your license plate. And, just for number's sake, if you charge $5 a day for a trip and you miss 100 trips a day from people, spoofing the technology that they're already or trying to be dishonest, by recapturing those 150 trips a day, that's an additional $750 a day in revenue, which doesn't seem like very much. But when you look at that on a year-end basis, that's over $250,000 of lost revenue that they didn't even know they had lost, that was able to be captured just by deploying a few extra lanes of the additional technology. So I think that was a big success case. Obviously, the airport was very pleased. Probably not the taxi drivers, but something where we're always willing to get creative and see what we can do to think outside the box or see what makes sense to add on different technologies and solutions to meet the goals and needs that they have.
I think that's a great example of how improving the infrastructure of a parking facility is really an investment.
Yes.
I mean, $250,000 right off the bat is impressive. Well done. So in addition to being a part of municipalities and airports and all that, you actually have services outside of the parking industry. Could you give us a taste of what that is?
Yeah, of course. So one of the really exciting things about being part of TagMaster North America and the core technologies that we offer is they're able to provide different benefits to different types of sectors. So say, obviously for parking, some of the key benefits are increasing throughput, security, streamlining operations, making sure that there's either lane availability or quick identification of vehicles in a gated area so they can get in and out very quickly. But when you look at an industrial sector where maybe it's a mining fleet, the user experience to them may not be the top of mind for what their goal is for doing the install, but by having a solution that offers that same contactless, hands-free experience for the drivers, they're reducing their liability, and they're also, reducing their insurance rates that they may have to pay, as well as reducing damage to equipment. So a lot of these areas are in super remote locations, and they have these giant trucks and mining vehicles where, getting out of them, it might be 15 up. So that's sort of trying to think of the most polar opposite type of situation for parking, or where the same technology can provide, specific benefits in parking, and then also provide just as valued benefits for another industry, but being totally different. And really, for us, anything where you have a vehicle going in and out of a designated area where you want to track, audit, manage, or identify those vehicles coming in and out is going to be within our wheelhouse, whether gated or gateless.
So that answered one of my questions. I was going to ask you, who needs TagMaster? But let's catch my second question is, are there any operations or facilities or anything that would not be an ideal candidate for your product?
Good question. So for us, we're not in people tracking or building access. Oftentimes we've been asked this question, and our solutions are specifically designed for identifying vehicles. We can do forklifts and things like that, but we don't recommend, people wearing hard hats to have our RFID tags and things like that, just because there's so many variables with RFID technology, from reflection and bouncing off of walls and ceilings to fluorescent lighting, as well as water is one of those elements that affects RFID. And people being mostly water, can definitely affect reads and accuracy. And even though it's technically possible, we like to stick to what we know our systems are optimized for and what's going to yield the best results and exceed the expectations of the folks that are using them.
Yes. So do one thing and do it right.
Yes.
Right. Instead of trying to diversify too much. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. So how has TagMaster changed the parking industry?
I think one of the biggest things is the ability to take traditionally manual processes and then automate those. And some of the very clear derivative benefits of our solutions are things like reduced administrative workload, streamlined operations, and the ability to really give the users a premier experience where they don't need to stop, roll down their window, or interact with the system. And then with the diverse products line that we offer, we can do anything from a single entry gate, after hours roll-up gates, integrate with a full parks deployment for airports, hospitals, garages, really anything like that. So I think the fact that we have so much agility within our product line and the ability to meet a lot of different types of demands, integration requests, really is something that's been a benefit to us and to the folks that are using us at their facilities.
Yes. And we thank you, because from an audit perspective, which is how I know the parking industry, it is really a gift to my job when the management team in a facility has time to actually manage the facility, because they're not busy running around doing the manual work. Whenever there's good equipment in the facilities, the managers really have more capacity to manage well. TPN is very thankful for TagMaster.
Thank you very much. We're all about the pursuit of AI, but also ensuring that humans do what people do best, which is, like you said, managing the garage, people, the processes, but things that can be automated and streamlined with high accuracy. That's really where we're glad to come in.
Yes, let's let technology take some of the workload off of our days. So as you guys are all about accountability and passion and respect, and you're creating a product that is available, are you guys throughout the whole United States, or are you international? Like, what's your demographic?
So TagMaster North America, we manage all of North America. So that would be Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And then there is a TagMaster in Sweden that manages Europe and Asian markets.
Excellent. So as you guys have such a huge world out there that you are involved in, do you have any really cool stories about the product in the field that can sometimes create a funny moment?
So I know that one of them, where I went to college, and this is kind of a throwback, and the TagMaster equipment, before I even realized what it was or how it was, and, only realized this a couple of years ago that I was actually trying to outsmart our own technology back then, where I had, where I went to school, there was a faculty and staff parking lot that was much closer to classes, much really prime real estate. So I thought I had discovered this amazing loophole in the parking system where I could just park there and not get a ticket and use my student parking pass for another lot. And lesson learned, that is not the case. I was not as smart as I thought I was. And kind of the funny part was that the tickets that I was being issued on my car had like an old Pathfinder from the 90s, and the hood was kind of lifted up. So all the tickets were sliding off into the engine area. So I wasn't seeing them. So I thought for an entire semester that I had just gotten away with this amazing parking solution. And then when I went to get my transcript, something at the office, they had told me that I had almost $3,000 of parking fees that I needed to catch up on. I had written a letter that I didn't receive the tickets, all of these things. And, a couple of months later, when I got my oil change, that the technician came back with a stack of parking tickets for me. And I was like, goodness.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah. So,
I did receive them.
that was a good lesson. You might think that you're outsmarting the parking technology, but the people that are doing that enforcement and the companies that are facilitating it, it's not their first rodeo, and it's not the first time that someone's tried to get around it. So I guess that was my 20-year-old Amanda lesson.
Little did you know it was foreshadowing your career.
Oh.
Amanda, my last question for you this afternoon is, what is the future of TagMaster? Where is it headed?
One of the things that we've seen is as smart cities start to increasingly adopt initiatives for mobility and parking and intelligent solutions, we really see TagMaster as a pivotal role in creating not only a more sustainable parking future, but one that really embraces and is going to be evolving with the changing landscape that we're going to be seeing today. I know that for many of us who've been in parking for, a decade more or less, even, year after year, going to different trade shows, things like that, just the huge fluctuation and all of the innovation that's happening in new developments, it's so important to not only have the bandwidth, the team, and the capability to adapt and change to these market innovations, but also the passion and drive to want to continue doing that. So I would say a couple of those include data analytics, AI. I know those are big things that people are talking about right now. And the ability, not just in parking, to get people in and out of a parking garage and charge them a flat rate free from a ticket. But now, we're looking at things like different types of parking patterns, space utilization, and how to really use these urban spaces in different ways, and what to do with that data to help, the folks that are doing the administration, management, and operation make better business decisions based on that data that they're collecting. And all of our products fit exactly into that. Our slogan for TagMaster is driving smart cities forward, and we're fully committed and on board to all of the exciting things happening in our industry and being a key part of that.
How exciting. Is there anything else, Amanda, that you'd like to add before we close up?
Yeah, I would just say that thank you both so much for having me and TPN for this opportunity, and to all the amazing colleagues, competitors, and folks out, industry peers in the parking industry. I would just encourage you, please use TagMaster North America as a resource. If you have a question, project, anything that we can do to be of service, we are more than happy to do it. We're so excited about what's available today, what we can do, and what we're going to be able to continue to do to drive and grow and be a part of this industry.
Yes. Well, Amanda, you were great on this podcast, but to our listeners, I will vouch for her. She is a great communicator. So like she said, if you think TagMaster could fit a need for you, or maybe you just have questions about the product and the industry, don't hesitate to give them a call, shoot them an email. Amanda is a really great communicator, and she will go above and beyond to get you the information that you're looking for. Well, that's a wrap for us. So have a nice rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we hope you'll catch the next episode when it comes out. Have a great day.
To quote one of the greatest business minds of our time, Charles Munger, he said, "The best thing a human can do is help another human being know more." Here on our Parking Industry Podcast, we want to provide knowledge and resources. If you heard something that sparked your curiosity in today's episode, please reach out on our socials at TPN Consulting. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. See you next time on Our Parking Industry.